Hi guys, I have another Copic coloring and card tutorial for you today. It's the last one in the Then and Now series, and today I'm coloring this completely adorable little mini Medusa. This is my absolute favorite character from the whole set. Also, this is the character I felt that I, in the Then photo, actually made the best. So when looking at the image, I try to figure out what I could improve on it. And I liked it so much. I didn't really know until I kind of figured, well, I want to have more dimension in her face. I'm going to give her a tiny little button nose because I love those tiny little button noses. And also I wanted to give more dimension to the snakes, to try to make them look like they were in layers, that the snakes further away would be a little bit darker and the snakes closer to me would be a little bit lighter. So that is what I have been working with. When it comes to the kind of bottom part of her, I used somewhat the same colors for scales, and I love coloring scales. This is my absolute favorite thing to color, and I think because you don't need to really blend very well, and you don't really need to shadow it because you just play with the scales. This is probably one of the reasons why I love mermaids too. I'm going over her scales twice to get an extra piece of depth in it. I've said this before, Copics are a little bit translucent, which means that every time you color over it, you will get a deeper color. The paper will only take a couple of layers, then it will stop as the color will seep in through the paper. And after a while you have saturated your paper with the color and then you can't color more. But you can always try and find out how many layers your paper can handle. Then I'm using my E40s again because I love my E40s, and I can actually tell you that I had a little problem getting a good blend on her tummy scales, and this is because I have used my E40s so much that they are running out of ink. And the drier the pen is, the harder it will be to blend. That is a tip. So if you have a hard time blending, look at your pen. If the tip of the pen is starting to get white very soon after you start coloring, there's a big chance that you are running out of ink, and then you just need to refill them. Buy a refiller and refill the pen, and it will work out awesome. You can also weigh your pen for that sake. If you go to Passionate Paper Creations and Friends, she have really good details on how to refill your pens, also how to weigh your pens to figure out if you need to refill them and such. Now we come to the details of the snakes, and I'm just gonna play with dots. All the shadowing on these snakes are done with dots. I have colored the snakes that have the back towards us is colored with the lightest color of E41, and the snakes that have the tummy portion of themselves toward us have E40, because if you look at the snake, it's usually have a darker color on top and a lighter color on its tummy. And then I'm just adding more and more of the dots. I'm starting with the dark ones and just adding that in the spine area, and then I'm adding lighter pens and kind of spreading the dots further away from the spine area. And I really like this technique of just dotting the images to both get the shadows but also the sort of texture. And as you see, I went in with E47, and I only dotted with the E47 where it would be shadows or at the snakes that would be further away, so that is the shadowing that gives the whole snake head more dimension. And I continue just to add extra dots going through from the darkest to the lightest of the colors, and that is how I did the texture. Then I colored all the eyes and the mouth and the tongues all in different kinds of reds. I'm using the 35, 32 and 30 for the tongues, and then I'm using the same red colors for her eyes as the snake's eyes. But I didn't use the E35 on the snake's eyes because they are so teeny tiny. You really don't need 4 colors or 3. You actually just need 2, but I wanted to. I just added the EO7 in the middle to tone it down. You don't need to. You can use 2 colors because there are so small spaces. But I wanted some dimension for the eyes. Then I'm using my EK Success Cutter Bee scissors to cut her out, just softly, trying to keep about the same width around her, all the way around. This is trial and error. You will find which width will fit you. This is the width that actually fit my way of cutting. And I'm using my Martha Stewart knife to remove those small pieces in her snake head. Then I'm starting with the card itself. I'm using some Neenah Solar White to make the card base. It's going to be 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I'm cutting down my first mat, which is 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. And then I'm cutting down this little sliver, and I'm cutting them down to 4, but kind of realized that I want it to be across the bottom instead, so I'm cutting them down to 3 inches in the end. And then I'm cutting down this, which is going to be the background paper. I chose another for the beginning, but it needed more texture. I'm gonna make my little sentiment. I'm gonna use Hey Ghoul Friend, and I am from the Booyah stamp set by Lawn Fawn, and I'm doing some selective inking. I'm starting with just the Ghoul Friend because the sentiment is wider than the card base is, and I wanted it to fit for the card base. So I start with the Ghoul Friend, then I'm cleaning off my stamp thoroughly with some wet baby wipes, and then I am stamping on white paper to make sure that I don't have any ink left on the Ghoul Friend. Then I'm inking up the Hey and making sure that it is within the 3-inch mark. I'm using my mat to figure out what is 3 inches. I'm cutting it down so it has equal amount of light both up and down, and then down to 3 inches, and giving it a mat which is 3 by 7/8 of an inch, which means it's 1/8 of an inch wider on the height instead of the width. On the width it actually goes to the end. And then I'm just layering all my pieces. This card kind of developed while I was working because I added, you see here, I'm adding glue on the wrong side. So I actually have cut out a new one to add glue on the right side. So I do make mistakes a lot. But it came together because I actually just laid the pieces down onto each other, and I'm kind of, ooh, I like that. So this is me trying to kind of figure out how I'm gonna lay them down. It was a little bit earlier when they just ended up like that on my table. I'm using that little pattern paper because I thought it just fitted perfectly with her. There's something about it. And I still wanted it there, but I didn't want very much of it. So I'm covering the with the sentiment and kind of make it just a little X because it looked good. I'm adding small pieces of foam tape, the 3M Scotch foam tape, all around her, trying to put it on almost every part of her snake heads so that when you put it through a mail, it doesn't get crunched up together. I'm using my Martha Stewart mini scoreboard to make my card base. It's a 6 1/2 width of the paper, and then I'm gonna score it at 3 1/4, and it's 4 1/4 high. And to finish it off, I'm just layering the whole little layer on top, and that is the card for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have no questions, just comment down below. And there is a little what's this called? A little card, it's called, up in the corner if you want to see the whole series as a playlist. And these two are also annotated. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!